Happy new month. Yes, welcome to the last month of the year 2025, and it's been quite a beautiful year so far, and hopefully we'll end the year better than we actually started it in January of 2025, especially as we anticipate the new tax regimes coming up 1st of January 2026. I say regime, actually tax reforms. So that's it. In the studio here with me to have a conversation on the housing matter are two people who are in the industry in their own right. And joining us virtually will be Dr. Emmanuel Bashayi from Kano State. But here in the studio, let me introduce my guests. They're first timers on the Business Daily. That is on my immediate left. I'm correct, right? Immediate left. That will be Dr. Abandy Felix. He's a mortgage consultant and he's the managing director, Dear Trust Shelter Limited, if I'm correct.
Deb Shelter Limited.
Deb Shelter Limited, okay. Yeah. And then I have over at my far left, that's the word, Dr. Ikenna Valentine. He is a real estate developer and he's the MBCU Advocate Realty Limited.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us on the program. Again, I've not said it to you. Happy New Month.
Happy New Month.
All right. So let's, before we get into our conversation, let's look at this story. We have this issue which comes up every year. Fuel scarcity is like over December and everything. Next thing you see, fuel scarcity is happening. It's just a thing known for that period. And as Dangote is saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And even asked the NMDPRA to come on board so that they can publish correct information as to them fulfilling the deal. What do you make of it? Do you think that he has the capacity to actually fulfill 1.5 billion liters for the month of December and going forward?
From the work he has done so far through his refinery, I think he has the capacity to supply 1.5 billion liters of PMS. And if he does that, the fuel scarcity that we normally have during this December, I think that should be a thing of the past. And it's going to be kudos to him why the government of Nigeria will be trying to learn from him. Which is supposed to be the other way around. So the private sector is driving what is expected of the government for the past 10 to 20 years. Because for every year, you keep having fuel scarcity during December. So if Dangote is coming in to bridge the gap, it's a welcome idea and it's going to help us a lot. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your insights on that. Now let's go to our conversation for today, the Nigerian housing crisis. It's a big issue, homeless people and a lot of empty buildings as well. So the Nigerian housing crisis has impact on the economy and the role of mortgage. It's a story done by Noel Samson. Let's take a look.
Nigeria's homeless population is estimated at 24 million, far ahead of Egypt's 12 million and the DR Congo. The Central Bank of Nigeria reported in 2019 that only 10% of Nigerians who hope to own a home can afford one, compared to 70% in the United States and 78% in the United Kingdom. The gap is staggering. In Abuja, the realities were visible. People sleep under bridges, in plazas, mosques, churches, uncompleted buildings, and on the streets. Among them are Fatima Inu and her children, as well as Muhammad Usman and Muhammad Abubakar, all parts of Nigeria's 24 million homeless citizens.
I fled from my house in Zamfara after Boko Haram attacked us, killed my husband and set her house on fire. I came to Abuja in search of better opportunities, but it has not been easy at all. I sleep by the roadside with my children, whether it rains or the sun is scorching.
I left Taraba for Abuja. I lost all my money. I came here hoping to find any job I could do, but so far I haven't been successful. I can't afford a place to stay, so I sleep at the Central Mosque every night. I came to Abuja because Boko Haram killed my dad and siblings. Right now, I don't even know where the rest of my family is. I survive by doing any laboring job I can find. I don't have a house here in Abuja. I sleep inside a mosque located in a plaza at Wusetu. Experts say the rising numbers stem from a complex mix of social and economic pressures, including rural-urban migration, unemployment, deprivation, and rapid population growth. Three major factors stand out in Nigeria. First is population growth, currently at 2.6%, one of the fastest globally. This has intensified migration into cities where housing is already inadequate. Real estate developer Ikenna Valentine explained how the crisis can be addressed, but residents also share their views.
And if the government can give us loan through the loan institutions owned by the government, we can be able to embark on such projects and build sustainable mass housing projects for low-income earners. That is number one. Number two, if the cost of building materials can at least come down a little bit, it will contribute massively in reducing the cost of housing projects.
If they crash the rising cost of foodstuff, people will be able to save money. And once they save money, what they will now look into is how to use it to develop a home where they are going to live.
Distribution of amenities, social amenity in the towns, in the local areas. You see that you can stay elsewhere. You cannot come to urban center before you do your business, before you eke out a living.
With more than 133 million Nigerians facing multidimensional poverty, shrinking incomes and inflation continue to make rent unaffordable, pushing many into homelessness. Despite calls for mortgage and credit reforms, access remains limited as only 10% of aspiring home earners can afford a home, as the existing system largely favors wealthy buyers. With the Federal Mortgage Bank weakened by funding gaps and alleged corruption, more Nigerians now live in uncompleted buildings, open fields, and other unsafe places.
First and foremost, we must look at the root cause in terms of the solution. One, it is clear that there's economic inequalities in Nigeria. What brings about economic inequality is about unemployment. People are not well employed. Skill is actually reduced. People don't have skills to actually work. So if you can create employment opportunity, people would have been where they are and actually work. It boils down to the government now to project that in the next 20 years, these are what we are going to do. Government is doing kind of federal housing. How many persons, how many Nigerians can actually afford it? So there must be a scheme that they will bring about that will help Nigerians through private sector driven.
However, this story took an unexpected turn when we met a man named Nuru Aminu from Rinji, Sokoto State. Introduced to us by other homeless individuals, they explained that he has been in Abuja for only 15 days and sleeps at the Abuja Central Mosque. He has lost contact with his family and carries his school certificates and international passport expiring in 2028. He appears slightly mentally unstable and has suffered harsh treatment from passers-by. Those who know him plead that if his family sees this report, they should come for him. Until meaningful reforms are implemented and the economy stabilizes, Nigeria's homelessness crisis is likely to deepen. Well, Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Quite a very, very touching story there. We can see that most of the people had to leave their home bases due to something quite prevalent, insecurity. And of course, that young man at the end of the story. So in case you've seen it and you know his family members, please reach out and maybe we'll be able to connect you to him. Now, let's come back to the studio to my guests. That story was quite touching, as we've seen. And one major issue that kept coming up is the issue of insecurity. I had to leave my family. I had to come to Abuja, which brings about one of the issues of rural-urban migration. Now, these people might not have had to leave their villages if not for the security issue. But here we are, and here they are now, here in Abuja City, and sometimes in other parts of the country. Now, my question to you as we start off this conversation is, what do you make of the housing crisis we have in Nigeria? People living on the bridges, sleeping on the bridges, and we have seemingly empty buildings as well. What do you make of that?
Thank you for having me today. Just like we have said before, about 24 million Nigerians are homeless, and this is a very big problem that is causing more problem in this country. Now, there are many factors that have contributed to the homelessness in this country, which number one is the insecurity, number two is population. We have population crisis in this country, and we can also say the poverty crisis. So Nigerians are poor, and most Nigerians cannot afford to own a property or to rent an apartment because of the high cost of rental properties. Now, unemployment also contributed to this. because many Nigerians are unemployed, and most of them have to, first of all, find food, feed their families before they can even talk of where they can live. You understand? So this is a very big problem, and like we keep saying, we need the government to intervene. We need the government to intervene and also cooperate with private real estate developers and solve this problem. And one of the best way to solving this problem is by granting loans to real estate private developers so that they can embark on providing more affordable housing for Nigerians.
Okay, I can see that you're touting the same thing you said in the report that was just played earlier.
Yeah,
now, I'll come to you, Mr. Felix. Thoughts on the current housing crisis in Nigeria?
The current housing crisis in Nigeria is a very simple thing that the government can handle. And I would like to take it from the angle of the government, because the government is supposed to provide basic amenities that will lead to good housing structures in the country, and making it affordable by reducing the cost of things. Because a lot of people pay taxes, even those people that are staying under the bridge, whether they like it or not, they are paying taxes. So if my tax is being paid, why is it that my government is not using the tax to provide basic infrastructures that will lead to developing a particular area? Like the real estate developer wants to move to site, but there's no road. So how is he going to build an affordable house when he knows that before he gets to his site, he has spent so much? So, but if the government can come in, make sure that there are rules in those areas, there are basic water and other things. You see the developer, when they go to site, they'll be able to build something that is affordable for everybody. So it is pathetic that a lot of us don't have what we call roof over our heads, just like what we are seeing from the report. It's not something that is far from the government to obtain. And I'm sure a lot of these government officials, they travel out of these countries. They travel out of this Nigeria to other countries, and they see what is being obtainable. But they can come back and replicate it and make life more easy and better for everybody.
Okay. Now, let's go to our guest who's joined us virtually from Kano State, Dr. Emmanuel Bashayi. Good morning, doctor. Good morning. I'm sure you've heard what our studio's guests have said so far about the housing crisis. Now, your thoughts on it, and most importantly, let's come from the economic aspect of it. How much GDP growth could Nigeria gain from a more vibrant housing and mortgage sector?
So, good to join the discussants at the studio over there with you. Looking at it from an economic standpoint, with today, our housing and general real estate sector just about 5 to 7% of our GDP. That can still be significantly higher, because in other more advanced economies, somewhere around 16 to 18%. So it means we still have a lot of room to grow. It's no news that we have a serious housing deficit. And I don't expect that everybody wants to live in the Maitama and the Asokoro. We need to have like segmented housing housing situation for different categories of people. So do we have a crisis? Yes. Is this impacting on our economy and the growth of our economy generally? Yes. The truth there is that while today we see a lot of real estate being driven by the private sector, government still has a lot to do to enable the private sector. We always say that government doesn't have business doing business, but then government can provide enabling environment to enable businesses to thrive. So the real estate sector depends on a lot of the input from government to enable it thrive in a way that allows the players get good value down to the final consumer. So one of the guests has alluded to the fact that infrastructure policies that enable the private sector get affordable financing from government to be able to plow it back into this. Government needs to see this as a social investment, because housing is a key need of man. Among the hierarchies, food, clothing, and shelter. So it's a top priority for people. So government need to see it not just as a nice to have, but as a social project that enables people to be accommodated very decently in ways and manners that are consistent with their income brackets.
Okay. Now, I know you, every time we talk all the time, talk about fiscal policies. You're on the fiscal policy side of things. You want that to be implemented. Now, what fiscal policies can make housing more affordable without raising debt pressure? Because there's that issue again. We don't have to go out borrowing. So what can we do on the fiscal side to make housing more affordable?
So there are a couple of recommendations that can be done. Government needs to start looking deeply into the cost of construction inputs, things like iron rods, things like cement, and a couple of other inputs that go into the entire building project. Now, while I understand that we're in a perfectly competitive market, but trust me, there's nothing like a perfectly competitive market, but for the sake of reason, we're in a perfectly competitive market. So we expect that the people who play in the inputs sector of materials that go into construction will need to make money. But then at the end of the day, government needs to begin to put an eye into this and be a regulator. Take, for example, cement. 80% of the raw materials for the production of cement is locally sourced. Now, does it make sense that we're paying so much money for a bag of cement in Nigeria, for a 50 kg bag of cement? I don't think it makes sense. I don't think a bag of cement should cost close to 10,000 naira, because everything is locally sourced. So this is where government can begin to put an eye into what goes into the total production. Are you making a decent margin? Can you be able to sell at a price that government has a hand in, has a level of control in, such that we can be able to have the final product become relatively more affordable than it is today? We import a lot of the other inputs like iron rods and the rest of them. Can we support local manufacturers to be able to ensure that we get better output from them, to be able to have more of this product in country, rather than depending on FX, the scarce FX, to be able to import in some of these materials? This is number one. Number two, government can begin to give tax incentives to developers who create access roads or infrastructure that gets to properties where they are currently selling. Because government has a responsibility to provide this infrastructure. One of our guests has indicated that when a developer constructs the road that goes to the estate, he's going to apply that back into the cost of the final unit of house. So if government steps in, that overall brings a lot of relief to the final consumer, as well as the developer who is committing so much money into an infrastructure project that he shouldn't really be doing on the very good day. So these are ways that government can be able to step in and create the necessary buffer that enables the private sector to thrive, and then the final user of the houses get at a relatively cheaper price. There's no low-cost raw material anywhere. The most important thing is getting the right balance to ensure that we're able to get it as affordable as possible, so that the final unit of house can be relatively affordable as well.
Okay. I'm coming back to you, Mr. Valentine. You heard what he said, and he's talking about reducing construction costs. But away from that, what regulatory reforms, because I believe you're in the sector, so you know what you have to go through to build this house, to develop a land. Now, what regulatory reforms can speed up land titling and reduce construction costs? Now, I know there's so many things. We have the ground rent and so many other things that come into play and all that. What could be done from the government end to see that these things are done better and, of course, reduce construction costs?
Okay, first of all, let's start with the land titling. Some of the problem that the people are having is that they find it difficult to get the right information, because the land title information is still in the analog phase. So the first step is that they should digitalize the land records, and make it easier for people to easily get land information. You understand? So secondly, when we talk about what the government can do to reduce the construction cost, we still have to fall back to how government subsidizing the construction materials and making it easy for private developers to afford those materials. The government should also contribute to the use of local content, that is local building materials. That is by creating favorable policies to the manufacturer of these local content materials. So I believe by doing this and also providing construction of roads, it is going to enhance and support developers in providing affordable homes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. You know, I know you said all this about government this, government that, but why does it seem like most developers are going into luxury housing units as opposed to affordable units? Why? Because you see now most people are doing smart houses, this and that, and who's going to afford a smart house if you can't even feed yourself properly? So why is that the case?
You know, private real estate developers are doing the business for profit.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why they go into luxury real estate is because of the high profit margin.
Okay.
You understand? And secondly, the demand for luxury real estate. You cannot see luxury real estate in rural areas. You can only see luxury real estate in urban locations, developed locations. Like in Abuja here, we talk about Gusape, we talk about Uye. That is developed locations in Abuja. And that is where you see security, that is where you see good road network, and that is where you see good electricity. Now, security is one of the major problems in this country, insecurity. And everybody would like to stay where they are at least safe. You understand? So this created a high demand in luxury real estate because of the demand by the investor, by the buyers. They prefer to stay in developed urban areas, where they are sure that they are secured, where they are sure that there is good road network. So, and coupled with the fact that they want to be safe, like I have said. So okay. This is the reason why developers go into luxury real estate. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Let me come to you as the mortgage consultant here. Mortgage situation. I know that you keep hearing the stories. In my father's time, when I was your age, we could get money and we could build houses, but that doesn't seem to be the case currently. Why is it that mortgage uptake is low in Nigeria at the moment?
Okay, I would like to say that the reason most people do not know that the mortgage system is working in Nigeria is because of lack of information. It's not being spread around by the federal government, state government, and the local government. Then the individual stakeholders, they are fighting hard to see that a lot of people get to know that mortgage system works in Nigeria. I can guarantee you that through the Federal Mortgage Bank, a lot of people have benefited from the mortgage system. It's just very few people that are aware are the one keying into the system. So the reason a lot of us are still struggling to know that mortgage can assist you to get a property is because, one, some are shying away from the truth. Like down in the southern part of Nigeria, it's very few people that are keying into the mortgage system. But coming to the north here, a lot of people are keying into it. And the thing about the Federal Mortgage Bank system of releasing loans to people to buy houses is that whoever comes will get it.
Oh, I see. So yes. Now, I would like for you to give me, will I say, an example of how to get a loan, the repayment plan, because you said this opportunity you have now to give that information out to the people who are watching. How is it easy to get a mortgage loan in Nigeria? Can I just walk into the FMB today and say I need a loan to buy a property? What are the steps I need to take to access mortgage in Nigeria?
Okay, in a very quick breakdown. we have what we call the secondary mortgage bank, which is the federal mortgage bank. So the federal mortgage bank have a scheme called the National Housing Fund Scheme. So both, whether you're working in the private sector or the government sector, the public sector, you can own a house by being a contributor to that National Housing Fund Scheme. And I would like to disappoint you that as we speak now, about 30 million Nigerians are contributors to that scheme. Okay. So check the difference, check the gap.
Okay.
As at 2023, this is not long, this thing. Okay. About 13 million Nigerians are contributors to that scheme. And if you are a contributor to the scheme, your organization automatically deducts 2.5% of your salary every month to that scheme. So it's not left for you to say, okay, since I'm a contributor to this scheme, can I pull out a loan from it to buy a property? And if you say you want to do it, you are free to walk into a primary mortgage bank and say, I want to buy a property from this real estate developer. And we'll now tell you, okay, since you are coming to the primary mortgage bank, now what you need to do is first, you need to make a personal stake to the property in which you want to buy into. And Federal Mortgage Bank have made it at least minimum of 10% from you, the individual, okay, to the developer. Okay. And the developer will in turn give you a receipt that you have paid 10%, 20%, 30%, as the case may be. And when you go back to the primary mortgage bank, the primary mortgage bank will look at what Federal Mortgage Bank has tagged affordability table. With that affordability table, they will check your pay slip. They'll see what you can afford, what it is that your pay slip can take as a loan to buy the property. So if after checking it and see that your pay slip can give you 30 million to buy a property, and the property you are buying is more than that 30 million, if you've made 10%, but it's still more than that, it's not left for you to say, okay, I'm going to assess this while I look for the balance to give to the developer. With that, the level of burden on you financially has been taken away by the Federal Mortgage Bank.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly,
yes,
the mortgage bank won't give me the entire money.
No, they won't, because they see it as a joint venture. Okay. You have to show a level of commitment from your own side, because if they pay everything, you just go and relax. So let there be a level of commitment from your side, then they can now finance the remaining 90%.
Okay, what's the repayment plan and interest rate?
The repayment plan is a very long-term repayment plan. If you're 20 minus it from 60, you have the remaining years to pay for the loan. Okay. So if you're 30 minus it from 60, you have the remaining years to pay for the loan. And the interest rate is just 6% per annum.
6% per annum?
Yes.
Okay. On whatever they give you?
On whatever they give you. If they give you 13 million, 6% per annum. And whatever you're paying is on a reducing balance. So it involves both the principal and the interest rate.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. So now you've had a clear understanding of how the mortgage system works in Nigeria per adventure. You want to get a mortgage loan to finance your building or your construction. This is the way it goes. So take our time later to go back on our YouTube page and listen to this part of the conversation again and have that information. Now our time is quite running up, and we need to ask a few more questions on the issue. Let's go away from owning a home, because there's that, but there's equally the issue of rentage. And you've mentioned affordability of rentage. Our guest is still there virtually in Kano with us. Now, Dr. Bashayi, I'm going to come back to you with that on the issue of rentage. We're seeing that even the federal government, via the House of Reps and the National Assembly, is now saying they want to put in laws to stem the arbitrary increase of rent by landlords. We can see someone, you're paying 1 million this year, and before you know, they're telling you you're paying another 1 million, 100% increment, just like that. What do you make of these things? Because the law, according to the reps, is they're looking at 20% max, I think yearly, for that increment on the rentage, and you can't just do it arbitrarily. You have to actually tell the tenants that you want to increase. What do you make of this, and how can we bring in landlords into solving the problem as well? Because if the rents are high, we'll still have a homeless situation.
It was a very good question, Chiamaka. Now, the thing is, government cannot let things be on free float. At some point, government needs to do some level of regulation. If you check other countries in Africa, rents are not paid annually. But it's a norm in Nigeria, we pay rent annually. So we're used to it, we're cool. But then when you check, there are triggers to the reason why these rents keep arbitrarily changing. It's inflation. So as inflation goes up, a landlord that built his house 10 years ago possibly recovered a huge chunk of the money he invested. Today, he has bills to pay, and he's depending on the rental income to pay those bills. So he's going to take the rent up to be able to meet up his recurring expenditure. So would that be a fair deal for the tenant? I don't think so. Because sometimes when you're asking the tenant to pay 20% more, 30% more, 100% more, the tenant's income hasn't doubled, hasn't grown by 100% either. So he has to pay more for the same thing that he has been paying less for. So I think regulation is key, and then government needs to provide safe spaces where tenants and users of this service can seek redress, where if there's an arbitrary increase and you feel this is not being fair, there should be somewhere you can go to and your case can be heard, and so on and so forth. For new developments, they're going to be cost reflective. So if a house is just built this year, it's going to reflect the reality of the cost of construction and all of that in the rent. But especially, but the key thing is about what about houses that were built many years ago, not brand new houses and all, and then the landlord wakes up and changes the price and all. Where does the tenant go to seek redress? Because this is a case of landlord versus tenant. If you don't want it, you go away and find somebody else that can do this. These are the kind of challenges, and government needs to put a framework. And this will start at the state government level. I don't expect this to be at the federal level. The realities in the states are different. So I will expect that the state houses of assembly will need to look more deeply into this and create enabling laws that enable this to function best in their states. If you feel like payment of rent should be yearly, go on with it, and then put the right structure in place to ensure that the tenant is not the landlord doesn't take undue advantage of the tenants, and so on and so forth.
All right, thank you. I have to cut you short because I have to have final words with them, and then we'll wrap up the program. Our time is far gone. Now, you've heard what he said. What do you think of that? Because even one of the propositions of that bill is that rent becomes monthly, actually. That's one of the proposals. So what do you make of this arbitrarily rent increase and government trying to step into it?
Just like he said, the major cause of this problem is inflation. Inflation is the major problem because the more the cost of materials is on the high increase, landlords will also like to increase the value of their property so that they can pay their own bills. But I believe the government can contribute by minimizing the or bringing lands. You know, they can give lands to developers through subsidies, whereby reducing the cost of the rent. At least if they are bringing the land, the developer will now know that it's just the cost of building and no longer the land. That is number one. Number two, they can also bring good regulations that is going to be both favorable to the landlord and the tenants. That's my input.
All right, Mr. Felix.
I want to say that the National Assembly members, I don't know what to say. They are supposed to start from making a reform in the local context, because that is where it starts from. You don't just come to meet me that I've built my house, don't give rent like this. No, go back to the drawing board as a member of the National Assembly and say, okay, why are we having increase in rentage? Why can't it be as low as whatever it is we can? First of all, find out those information that leads to those things. You cannot, if you're paying somebody's salary and the moment there's an increment in salary, the person selling vegetable increases the price of vegetable. So it is with the person selling cement, selling all those things. So the manufacturing industry needs to be looked into. Just the way my brother has said, there should be subsidy for those people that are making local content.
I know there's so much to say and so much to discuss, but time is not on our side and we have to actually wrap up the program at this time. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the program this morning. Dr. Bashayi, Dr. Valentine, and Mr. Felix. Thank you for your insights on the housing situation in Nigeria.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And that's it for Business Daily today. For more of our programs, and documentaries, do well to follow us on social media platforms and our YouTube live stream. The news comes up in a few minutes. My name is Chiamaka Nwafor. Same time, same place tomorrow. Bye for now.